I'm afraid of surprises.
What did you say? You are?
He likes surprises.
Okay. So take this.
Have
Turn your phones off.
Is it on yet?
It's on. It's on. You can talk. You can.
Oh, because surprises is a true story of. There's an American professional baseball player, but he was known for his crazy sayings, like if you come to a fork in the road, take it. Whatever. If you come to a fork in the road, take
it.
Okay. So he was being interviewed on TV, and they said, Yogi, his name was Yogi Berra. The interviewer said, Yogi, what's the latest in your stories? Because, it's been a while since we've heard anything. Well, he says, actually, last week, my wife said to me, Yogi, you were born in the Midwest, you played baseball, you played for the New York Yankees, and now you're living in New Jersey. Where would you like to be buried? He says, surprise me.
But he's the guy that says
it ain't over. It ain't over until
over.
It's the guy.
Yeah,
okay.
I even mentioned it in one of my books. Yeah, it says it ain't over until it's all over.
Okay, being buried, I'm also, I don't mind to be surprised, but before I don't want.
Okay.
So it's a big honor for us, especially for me, to interview you, and we hope that we'll learn something from this. This is what we all will learn from this. We are all orthodontists. Atalia is one of your students. I was a little bit a part of my life, a co of you, working with you, and I think it's very important for at least the Israeli orthodontist to know more about you. We hope that you live many years from now.
Thank you. How far back do you want to go with the story of how I came to Israel as an orthodontist?
We want you to say some words about familiar words, family wise, just a few words, when you were born, where, and just some things, that background.
Yeah, well, born in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia.
Brotherly?
Yeah, that's its definition.
Really?
Yeah, in Greek or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, my first granddaughter was born in the same hospital in Philadelphia. So, go back to Philadelphia, a long way. My dream was to be a high school history teacher. And somewhere along the line, my parents convinced me that it was not a good way to make a living. And although they had lived through a period of depression where a teacher was one of the best paid people, their salaries were stable, and in the depression there was an honor, besides the honor of being a teacher, there was financial security. But gradually, and today it's the worst it's been. In fact, it's why they have trouble finding people to teach, because the salaries and the payments reimbursements are so low compared to what can be made in private practice. But somewhere along the line, I was introduced to orthodontics by my cousin, Michael Milton. Mickey was his nickname, Milton Asbel, who was a dental historian and also an orthodontist, one of the early graduates from Penn. At the time, Penn and NYU were probably two of the worst programs in the country, but he wasn't too aware of that until at one point when he influenced me, because I would follow him around and see his patients and what he was doing with his labiolingual technique and the things he could do with a soldering iron. And he said, when you finish dental school, go into orthodontics, and you and I will open a series of offices all throughout New Jersey.
That's what Milton said?
Yeah, Milton Asbel. He already had 3 offices. He said, well, when I come back, we'll have 10 offices all over New Jersey. Well, the problem is that I went to Illinois. When I came back, he said, we have nothing to talk about, because I came from the West Point of orthodontic programs, and he had gone to a slum school, basically.
Where?
It was Penn.
You went to Philadelphia?
Penn at that time was old labiolingual techniques. It was 30, 40 years behind times. Really was in bad shape. So the question now was what to do with my life after dental school and the year and a half at Illinois, where I was not trained but educated. I use the words educated as opposed to trained because Professor Brody would say dogs and horses are trained but people are educated.
Let's go back to the history of date of birth, family-wise.
Well, Thanksgiving birthday, because in those days Thanksgiving was the 25th of November before Roosevelt or somebody changed it to the last Thursday in November.
Yeah.
So November 25th, 1930, which was the year that Edward Angle died. Coincidence. Yeah. Angle died in 1930. I was born in 1930. And educated at the same high school as Netanyahu, as the two Netanyahu brothers, suburban Philadelphia. And it was a good high school education, and it was a wonderful college education, small liberal arts college in Pennsylvania. And from there, without ever even applying for dental school, because the relationship between the Dean of Men at Franklin and Marshall College and University of Pennsylvania were so friendly that a phone call was all that was needed for my acceptance. I never carved wax, I never took exams. And so I joined Penn with 159 classmates, 2 women, 158 men, 2 women, and didn't like dental school very much, to be honest. But I knew that my eye was on orthodontics by this time, having already because of my cousin Mickey, who had taken me around to visit some of his offices, and it was very different. Even then, I knew there was a big difference between being in general dentistry and being an orthodontist. And so I went into the United States Air Force, actually, right after dental school.
After school?
After school, 2 years as a captain in the United States Air Force. And at that point, I was applying for orthodontics. And in terms of people who had an influence on my life, the endodontists would know the name I.B. Bender. I.B. Bender was really a world-famous endodontist, was awarded honorary things from Hebrew University, from Tel Aviv University, from the Russian societies. He really world famous. And he was our family dentist and a family friend. And he was teaching at Penn in the oral diagnosis department. And when I'd come back to school, he'd say, well, Lieberman, how are things going? He said, well, I'm finishing the Air Force and I'm applying for orthodontics. He said, where are you applying? I said, Penn and NYU. He said, why did you pick the 2 worst programs in the country? I didn't know.
And he's from Penn?
Yeah, but no, he was from Penn, dental school. Dental school. But he knew enough about research because he was a research dentist. I.B. Bender really, his textbook was one of the Bibles in endodontics. And I said, well, thanks for the advice. Where should I go? And he made up a list of schools for me, which included the University of Illinois. And so thanks to him, probably my whole orthodontic life was changed by not going to those schools, which have since improved, and today really there's a level field in terms of orthodontic education. Probably most schools, if not all schools, are at a pretty high level, not as it was then, where there was a high point and a low point. And Illinois was a unbelievable experience. The man that taught me how to push teeth around actually was a black Jamaican, Earl Renfro. But the man that taught me to think biology was Brody. So we...
one second, we'll come to this.
Yeah.
We'll come to this.
Oh, okay.
When did you get married?
Oh, goodness, well. My wife was a child bride. In fact, she calls our 60-year-old son a child from my first wife. But I got married at age 24. My wife was 21. And she had just finished Bryn Mawr College. And I was a junior dental student. We finished out dental school living together, and husband and wife, and from there into the United States Army.
And when did you have children?
We had children very early on, and
you were 25 as a father?
I was a father at 25. Yeah. 3 children. Went to dental school with 1 child. went into the Army with 2, and after I opened my office after finishing orthodontics, our 3rd child was born, and so of those 3 children, 2 are now living in Israel, as well as 6 grandchildren here, and 1 son in Boston, who has always lived near interesting orthodontists. If you walked out his front door in Waban, Boston, outside of Boston, if you turned to the left, you came to Peck and Peck. If you turned to the right, you came to Setlin's office. So, before that, he lived in Brookline in the same office as Henry Goldman. So he's always had an interesting connection in terms of his address. None of my family followed me into the profession. I have one daughter who's a microbiologist. She's in vitro fertilization. And,
in Israel?
Yeah,
she's doing IVF?
She's in Afula, in the hospital in Afula. And that's So where do we go now?
Where do we go now? Now we go to your Illinois.
Well, this is an interesting story.
To Illinois.
Actually,
some water maybe before.
That's okay.
Just
Okay,
coffee.
we'll make a break.
The
10 o'clock we'll take a break.
I started due to a interesting meeting in Atlantic City, New Jersey, as a young orthodontist. I went to.
No, I'm speaking about the school. I want to know about the school. School in Illinois before.
The school in Illinois.
Yeah,
well,
you started to speak about Brody.
Well, that's.
Let's go back to Brody.
That's a story unto itself. And McNamara.
McNamara was your teacher? No.
No.
He's much younger.
Yeah. But we were at an Angle Society meeting. And McNamara showed a movie with Brody in the back seat of a rumble seat of an old car, and Angle was in the car, and the headline in this old movie was instead of using his name, which was Alan Brody, it said pictured in the car is Steve Brody, and they stopped the movie. McNamara said, "Does anyone know where he got the nickname Steve?" And it was not even my Angle Society component. I was a guest of someone else's. No one else raised their hand. I said, well, I know that story because of having gone to Illinois, and then we knew the story. The story was that when Brody was in high school and finished high school, he had an appointment to West Point as a cadet and an acceptance to the University of Pennsylvania Dental School, and he didn't know which one to do. At the same time, a guy named, a young man named Steve Brody jumped off a bridge. Thoreau says, Thoreau woke up, it was before he passed away basically, Thoreau woke up, he said it was the Brooklyn Bridge. And this guy, Steve Brody, jumps off the Brooklyn Bridge on a dare. On a dare.
What is a dare?
I'll dare you to do it.
On a dare, yeah, it was like a bet, like a bet.
Yeah.
Like a bet.
Yeah.
On a dare, I will do it,
You're right, I will do it. And he jumped off and he survived. Now, somehow that influenced Brody to take a chance and go to Penn Dental School instead of it being a cadet. And that's how he got the name Steve. Okay, and of course he was Angle's favorite, and Angle wanted him to take over the school in Pasadena when he finished in 1926. But for some reason, maybe he loved Chicago, I don't know, but he chose a different path, and so in 1930, Brody opened the program at Illinois.
It's the year you were born, and it's the year that Angle died.
Yes, and it's the year that Brody opened the program at Illinois. Yeah.
Okay.
And he taught for 37 years and produced many of the world's famous orthodontists. Starting with his first class was none other than William B. Downs. Downs had been a prosthodontist. Brody's dream was to educate